channel. It's Pros back with another video, and if you're new to my channel, my name is Priscilla, but I go by Pros. And yeah, I am a third year medical student. That is so crazy to say. I am a third year medical student intercalating in pediatrics and child health at University College London. And yeah, this channel I just share my journey, some tips, some advice, experiences, and just lifestyle, through the lens of a medic. But anyways, let me stop ranting. So as you can see by the title, this video is gonna be my top 10 tips for first year medicine. And yeah, I just remember before I started my first year, I was feeling a range of emotions. I didn't know what to expect. Same with when I was about to enter my second year as well. Different emotions, but I was still feeling nerves, do you know what I mean? I just made this video to put together some things that I wish that I knew before I entered these two stages of my life, and things that I feel like could have made the process a lot smoother, and things I would have done if I could go back. So if you want to tune in just to get a few tips, continue watching this video. And yeah, just saying, this is based off my experience of my first year, my experience of my second year, and it can be different from medical school to medical school, so I'm just giving you my advice. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop ranting and I'm gonna get to the first tip, what this video is about, the meat of the video. But yeah, so my first tip for first year medicine, if you're entering your first year of medical school, would be to find your study technique as quickly as you can. And now let me get into it. Let me tell you why this is very important. So for me, back in school, I was the kind of person that would write notes, right? Copy them down, make them fancy. Yeah, I was that girl. The way you studied in school and the way you will need to study in medicine may be very different. And for me, because I studied making my own notes, it was a very passive form of revision. And somehow, I don't know, it worked for me at GCSEs, it worked for me at A-levels, but I actually did not do a lot of active revision. So when I got to medicine and I had this large workload and all this content, I was just like, whoa, like, I don't have time to be writing all these fancy notes and writing everything into a notepad, like it's just long. I had to find a way to adjust and change the way I studied, and it's so important to be studying actively and finding a way to do that. Some of you may have been doing it already before in school, so that study technique may carry into university and it may be fine, but I wasn't one of those people. So I would say definitely find the way you study best. Whether that is, you know, if you've seen things online before, you'll know about Anki, you might know about Quizlet, you know about Notability, Notion. Just because everyone's doing one study technique or doing one thing, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the best thing for you, and you shouldn't feel guilty or feel compelled to just do that study technique because that's what everyone's doing. Like, stay in your own lane. Finding your study technique, what that means is you may have to experiment. Like, you may want to try Anki, you may want to try Quizlet, you may want to try Notion, you may want to try Notability, but I feel like that's what first year is all about, finding what works best for you in order to maximize your grades. So I say if I was to go back, I would definitely start experimenting earlier and not wait till later in the year because you know your end of year exams count for your progression into the following year, and not wait until end of year exams to figure that out. Like, for example, just tell you a bit about me. So back in first year, a lot of people would use pre-made Anki decks. So when I say that, I mean Anki decks that were made by older years. They would just sit there and they would just basically revise decks that people had already made. And I felt like, okay, everyone's doing that, I should just do that. Let me just tap through these pre-made decks. And what I found was, because I hadn't made the decks myself, I was just learning lots of random cards and I didn't actually understand the content that well. And then it's only when I got towards the end of, I'd say like just before my first year, end of year examinations, summative examinations, I realized, I was like, I have not been learning this content properly. And then I actually started to make my own Anki cards. I'd go through the lecture slide, use the objectives and make my own notes. And once I started doing that, I understood the content way better. And it's unfortunate I learned that at the end of the year. So I'd say definitely try, experiment and find out what works for you as soon as possible. My second tip for first year medicine would be to get involved in societies. Like, I can't stress this one enough, especially medic societies. So like in my uni we have RUMs. So like you'll have like, let's say UCL netball, and then you'll have RUMS netball, so the medic version of, let's say, sports societies. And it's something I really wish I was serious about in first year, is because in that society there's going to be people from all the different years of the course, years 1 to 6, people that have been through what you're going through, people that have been through things you're gonna go through in the future. And it is the best way to like form friendships with people in older years, get connections, network, and just get support. Especially like some societies will run workshops and things based on like modules. So for example, I know when it came to like exam periods, like netball may be like, okay guys, we're gonna run a workshop for this particular module, and then if you go, you do questions, and it's like your group studying together, but you're also learning from older years, which is really useful. Medicine, there's 2 ways to do it. Like you can do medicine alone in your room, studying away by yourself, but I think it's a lot more, even just enjoyable, like learning from other people and going through it with other people. My third tip for first year medicine is quite simple. It's just don't cram. I say this because I've been a cram out my whole life through school. I wouldn't say I'm not like that bad. Like it won't be like I start revising the day before, but like I don't revise, or in the past when I was in school, I wouldn't revise as I go along. And somehow I was fine through GCSEs and A levels, but in medicine it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like I remember my first medical school exam, it was like November time of first term. And I went in using the same technique that I've been using my whole life. Like I'll start revising like a week before the exam and I'll be fine. That week was not enough. I remember getting to that week and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna bang like 10-hour days. I was doing those days and I was not even getting through much of the content. I know you may already be doing this, but just revise little by little and as you go along. It's the best way, it's the most effective way. So you want it to be a thing that by the time you get to the end of the year, you already have quite a solid foundation. So at that, when you get to that exam period, you're just revising over what you already know, not learning new things. Like obviously medicine is so vast and broad that when you're revising, new things will always crop up and be like, oh, I didn't know that. But you want it to be like you have that foundation set. My next tip is going to be, and it might be a bit controversial, is don't feel compelled to use Anki. For those of you that don't know what Anki is basically like this online flashcard thing that does active recall for you. So it will give you, like you'll choose a set number of cards you want per day, and it will give you those each day plus reviews. So you'll constantly be reviewing content. And I think it's an excellent tool. Like I'm not gonna lie, but I think a lot of the time, even before I started medical school, when I was applying, I just keep hearing about Anki. So when I entered medical school, I went in with the notion that, okay, when I get to medical school, I'm going to use Anki because everyone's talking about Anki, everyone's using Anki. That must be the best way to study. And what I found was, even though Anki is really good, don't get me wrong, is that there are other study techniques that can also be just as helpful. I did find that I felt like I needed to use Anki, and people, you go into lectures and people be like, oh, I did 200 Anki cards today, I did 300 Anki cards today, I did 1,000 Anki cards plus reviews, or people will be saying they did crazy amount of Anki cards, right? And I'll be like, I haven't even done any Anki today. And then I just start to feel a bit like insecure, like, am I supposed to be doing that many cards per day? But like I'm doing other things, so it's fine. But you feel like, because everyone's talking about how many cards they're doing per day, you feel like you need to also be doing cards per day, even though that may not be the best study technique for you, or the way you're studying may actually be fine. So I think don't feel a sense of like insecurity if you aren't studying the way everyone else is studying. Like, study the way you're studying, get to an exam. If you do fine, then you know what you're doing is working and you don't need to use what other people are using. So yeah, I say just don't get lost in the sauce. My next tip for first year would be to find or make a study group as soon as you can, or just find some friends to study with. I know for me, and it might be the same for a lot of people, you may have come from a space where you're used to just studying by yourself and you've got through that way and it's been fine, and maybe even the thought of studying with other people may sound distracting and feel like you're not going to be as productive. I was thinking the same. I was like, I can actually study by myself. Why do I need to study with other people? And when I got to medical school, I remember in our introductory lectures, they kept stressing studying as a group, studying with other people. And I was wondering, why are they stressing it? Like, is it really that deep? But it was until the time I first studied in a group of people and I realized that the difference that it made. And I think the main difference is because when you read something, you may be interpreting it in one way. And then when you study with other people and you talk to other people, they provide a different insight. Or you may think you understand something, but you actually don't understand it as well as you think. If that makes sense. And then when you study with other people, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I didn't actually look at it from that point of view, which really helps. And also simply that studying with other people just makes it more fun. Like you feel like you're going through a struggle together. So yeah. My next tip for first year would be, or this is more of a statement, it's just that it's impossible to learn everything. And I remember I struggled with this a lot in first year because I came from a place in A levels where there was a specification and I could just tick off everything, make sure I've covered everything in the spec and know, okay, I've covered the content I need to know. Whereas when I came to medicine, I realized that medicine is very much endless and that no matter how many hours I put in, I'm never going to know everything. Even if I'm doing 12-hour days and sacrificing sleep and all the rest of it. My advice, if you're entering first year, is just to become comfortable with that fact early on so you don't end up going to extreme measures to try and learn everything. Obviously, you do need to work hard, but don't compromise your health and all the rest of it, and that's fine. You don't need to know everything to pass. You need to know enough to pass, but you don't need to know everything to pass. To say with that, just sticking to what's in your lectures, what's in your objectives, listening to what the lecturers stress, what's important, what are the conditions that they talk about. Because I remember getting to a lot of exam times in first year and I would just feel like I'd literally like be the night before the exam, like I know I've been studying, but then I feel like I know nothing when I go in because I know there's so many things that like I don't know well, but then I'd forget that there are also things that I do know well, and it would just make me really anxious, just knowing I haven't covered absolutely everything. But yeah, it's not possible. So yeah. My next tip would be, it is okay just to pass. Medicine attracts a lot of people that are high achievers in school, that are used to getting A stars, A's, being top of their class. Then you get to medicine and it's a pass-fail degree. And sometimes it can be hard, just accepting that it's actually okay if you've just passed, if you've just got above the pass mark. That is fine. You're still going to progress to the next year. And I'm not saying in any way, shape or form, don't aim to get high grades or be the top of your cohort. Like if that's what you want to do, like do that, that's great. But I think just being comfortable that if you did just pass something or you didn't maybe get as high as you wanted, don't beat yourself up about it. As long as you passed, that is all you need. If that makes sense. And you need to think that they set that pass mark such that to pass it, that you have to be competent enough to pass it. You know what I mean? So if you passed it, you're good. It did happen like in first year where I passed an exam, my percentage wasn't that high, and I was just like, bruh. But I was happy to pass, but I was just like, I feel like I put in so much work and it's not being shown in my exam result. But like I've actually just learned that like I passed at the end of the day, so it's okay. My next tip would be use extra resources to support your studying. Okay, everything you need to know for your exam will be covered in your lectures, right? But sometimes the way the lectures are delivered or taught, or just the way the lecturer went over it may not be the best, right? And it may not give you everything you need in order to go into an exam feeling prepared and feeling knowledgeable on that topic area. Using extra resources can definitely help give you like a bigger picture. So I know some resources that were quite good in first year. It was like Ninja Nerd, Osmosis, Grey's Anatomy textbook as well. Obviously when you're examined from the point of view of, okay, a patient has come in and they're presenting with this, and you're kind of working through a clinical case. And for me, I found the way that we're not taught like that. We're not taught via clinical cases. We're very much taught the science and the facts and all of this, and then they'll tell you a disease and they'll tell you a bit about it, but we're not kind of taught it in that way. So there can be a disconnect between how you're taught and how you're examined, and I feel like the way to bridge that gap is to use extra resources. It will give you different insights and different perspectives, such that whatever you're met with in an exam, you've kind of seen it before. But the next tip isn't really a tip, it's just something I found really useful. And that was actually just my iPad. So before medical school, I didn't actually have an iPad, but then I'd watched some videos online, and I decided to get one going into medical school. When I tell you, my iPad was my best friend. Like, my laptop was actually sitting there collecting dust. I think towards exam times, when I was like, trying to make Anki cards and searching online, I used my laptop a lot more. But my iPad, that came with me everywhere. Like, it was so lightweight. I just use it for a lot of things, and I honestly think for medicine it's great. Just being able to write things down with the stylus is more active than just typing up notes. And not even just that, but I just loved just having the lecture slides in front of me, being able to annotate on them and draw, and then I can add extra slides and make extra notes on those slides, or add a page and make extra notes below that slide. It was just really helpful because it was like I didn't have to go and make extra notes, if that makes sense. Everything was just there in a format that I liked. I use Notability, which I found quite helpful. I know people use Notion and different things. And I was also going to say, I know people who've used laptops and been absolutely fine as well. But yeah, that's just something for me that I feel helped. Okay, lastly, my last tip for first year is actually just have fun. Enjoy it. Be outside. Like, I'm not joking. Like, first year, if you think of the whole journey of medicine, medical school, your career after, first year is the most time you're going to have. Like, it is like it's the first stage, it's the easiest stage, and like it's so easy to get caught up in medicine and just be in the library learning, going through your lectures and all of this stuff, which is great. But I think just also remember, you're going to university, but you also need to enjoy the uni in university. You know what I mean? Like, I've already said, get involved in societies, go to events, like make friends, just live life, you know what I mean? Because when I compare my first year and second year socially, I think I had a social life in both, but first year, like, it was enjoyable, like being in accommodation, meeting new people, we did games nights, sleepovers, like all that kind of thing. It just made first year a lot more fun and balanced. So I think, definitely take advantage of that fact. Like, if you want to go abroad, like, just try new things. Definitely enjoy your life.